Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Kyla, and in this video we're going to be talking about the 10 books that I absolutely loved this year. This was so hard to narrow down. If you are a reader, you know it is near impossible to narrow down your favorites into 10 books of the year. I read about 70 to 75 books, I believe, this year. So narrowing it down was really hard, but we have made it. I do, however, have some honorable mentions. So technically, if you want to get technical about it, this is a top 15. But more so, this is just like they were in my top 10, and then as I kept reading, they got bumped a little out, but I still want to mention them because I absolutely loved them. So if you're excited, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and let's just go ahead and dive in. So let's go ahead and start with the honorable mentions. Coming in at number 15 is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I read this for a reading vlog, and all of the reading vlogs that I mention I will have a link in the description, but I read this for a dark academia reading vlog, and while this was the least dark academia of the books I read for this vlog, I still had so much fun while I read this. The main character, Teddy, he is just like the grossest character ever, and you are just rooting for him to fail the entire time, which I think just made this book that much more fun. So I had to put it in this list because I love a book that like makes me squeamish about a main character. Yes, please. So this is number 15. Coming in at number 14 is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This is a cozy mystery about a group of friends in a retirement village who come together on Thursdays and they try to solve cold cases, and then one of the employees at the retirement village gets murdered and they try to figure out who it is alongside the cops. And there is just like the best cast of characters in this, the shenanigans they get up to, and also you can just picture each character perfectly and how they play their role, especially for someone who has worked in an assisted living nursing home setting before. Like the visions, they came perfectly. I could picture exactly who they were and their facial expressions, everything. So I just loved this. I thought it was so cozy, so funny, and it also threw me for a loop because there are so many characters in this book. You really do feel like you need one of those whiteboards with like the red string to try to figure out and try to attach everyone to everything. I just love it. So it threw me for a loop at the end, and it had to be on this list. And lucky number 13 is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I loved this book, and I know that is kind of an unpopular opinion. I know there are a lot of people who didn't enjoy this one, but I really did, and this is one of the only books this year that actually made me cry. Like, physical tears streaming down my face. And there's just a scene at the end that gets me whenever, I'm not even going to spoil it, but whenever stuff like this happens in books, it just pulls at my heartstrings and just like cuts me to my core, and I can't help it. I don't cry in books very often, but this one did it. It's actually one of two on this list that did. So that's saying a lot. And this one I just thought was so fun. It's exactly what I was expecting from a TJ Klune book. You have this funny cast of characters that are quirky. There is this incredible setting that has some magic behind it. And then also there's a little bit of a romance budding. And although the romance wasn't like the standout of this book, it definitely was like a bit too quick in my opinion. I still had a blast reading it, and I loved watching Wallace's story of growth throughout this book. I thought that was a really great message, and also just the messaging in general in this book was really good about second chances and how you act here on this earth and who you're kind to and who you're unkind to. Just all of it, I just loved it. Coming in number 12, I don't actually have a physical copy of, but that's Notes on an Execution. This book is a standout. I have never seen or read anything like this before, and I just love the perspective of this book. If you don't know, this book is following a serial killer, but his story is being told through the perspective of the women that he has impacted their lives in some way. So you have mother, you have a sister, you have one of the detectives that was involved in catching him, and they all tell their story in such a unique way while also telling his story simultaneously, and it is just so interesting and fascinating, and it brings up so many different conversations around the death penalty and being on death row, and also just what the victims go through, what the police force goes through, what these serial killers go through in their journey to kind of get to where they are. It's just completely fascinating, and the writing in this book is absolutely gorgeous. So if you haven't read this yet, please check it out. It is absolutely incredible. And then the last one before we jump into the top 10 is Jackal by Erin E. Adams. I read this one very recently. This is a horror, and this is another one of those books that definitely has mixed opinions, but I really loved it. I loved Erin E. Adams' writing. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous, and I loved the themes that she wove throughout this very horrific story. In this book, we are following our main character, Liz, and she comes back to her hometown after being away for a really long time to attend her best friend's wedding. And this town has this notorious history for Black girls going missing throughout the years and no one doing anything about it. And then while they're at the wedding, the bride's daughter goes missing, and everyone kind of goes up in a frenzy and starts looking for her, and it starts to unpack the secrets of this town while also unpacking everyone else's secrets. But this book took a direction that I really wasn't expecting, but I am really proud of Erin E. Adams for going there. One, for opening up such interesting conversations, and conversations that should be had around the police not doing anything about people of color going missing, or crimes being committed, or just automatically assuming, that kind of thing, but also taking a direction that was completely unexpected, and she definitely took a risk by doing that, which I just love. And I actually really enjoyed the ending. I kind of saw it unraveling throughout this book, and I know it was very hit or miss for people. Some people saw it coming, some people didn't, some people were very confused and caught off guard. I'd say about the halfway to 3/4 mark, I kind of was starting to unfold what possibly could be going on, and then she took that and ran with it, and I freaking loved that. So I loved it. I thought it was a good time, and I definitely will be checking out more of Erin E. Adams. This was a debut for her, so I will definitely be keeping my eye out for the next one from her. Okay, let's dive into the top 10. You guys, this is definitely a mixed bag of books. I'm telling you, we have dark academia, we have psychological, we have thrillers, we have fantasy, we have cozy mysteries, we have everything in this list, which just shows me as a reader, I really think, because I really do love all of those genres pretty equally, and I just am so excited about this top 10. So let's go ahead and get started. Coming in at number 10 is The Inheritance Games. I have read the first 2 in this series so far, but this one obviously has taken the cake by far. Again, I haven't read the last one yet, but I do love this. I love a story that unpacks a dramatic family, and then on top of that, you add in high stakes. Someone's coming to take their inheritance away, and they have no idea why or who she is, and then there's games and riddles involved, everything that you want in that kind of story is wrapped up into this book, and I just had the best time while reading it, while also trying to figure it out as it was unfolding. I just loved it. And I just really enjoyed Avery as a character. I think she's very strong-willed, and I really appreciate that. She's also very brave and like, I'm not gonna take shit from anyone. And you have these brothers who are like, you know, trying to play games with her, trying to get into her head, and she's like, absolutely not. I see you. I see you. And I just had the best time. I really enjoyed my reading experience with this. It was such a blast, and that's why it is on this list. If you have followed any of my videos over the past 6 months or so, you will not be surprised that one of these books made this list. So coming in at number 9 is A Court of Wings and Ruin. This was really hard to kind of pick my favorite out of the series so far. I still have Silver Flames to read, but so far, this one is definitely my favorite and had to be on this list because this one just packs everything that you loved about the first 2 into one book. I love that this had the world building, it had the budding romances, which like is not my favorite part of this, which is why this is probably one of my favorites. I think a lot of people's favorites is Mist and Fury, but that one was a little heavy-handed for me, I won't lie. I just like, romance is not my thing. I don't mind if it's intertwined with the plot line, but like I don't want it to be the main thing. So that's why I really like this one, because we're not only getting the evolving romance and like the aftermath of everything that has happened in the first 2, but we're also getting the war and the heartbreaking, heart-wrenching things that happened around that war and everything that happened in each realm and how they're all coming together. This one just had everything that I wanted and everything that I loved about the first 2 packed into this one, while also making my heart beat, making me anxious. I just could not stop turning the pages with this book, and so it just had to. It had to be on this list, and yes, it's a little bit far back coming in at number 9, but like, I love this series so much, and I am very excited to finish it off. I've been procrastinating a little bit because I don't want it to end, but like it's gonna happen soon. And just, I mean, this one was everything. So coming in at number 8 is actually a very recent read, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I also have the hardcover back there, but oh my goodness, I just loved this so much, and it had to move its way up into the list because I just had the best time while reading this. This also pulled me out of a little bit of a reading slump and also just helped me through a really tough mental health week, which might have been the reason why I loved it so much and why I feel like such an attachment to this book right now. But regardless, I still freaking loved it. In this book, we are following Viv, and she is an orc, and she is just ready to lay down her sword, literally. She's done with battle, she's done with fighting, and she just wants to go to a small town and open up a coffee shop. And this book just follows her as she starts out on her entrepreneurial path and how she finds friends along the way, and it's truly a story just about forging your own path and found family and trusting people and coffee, obviously. I have never wanted a cinnamon bun more than after reading this. Thank goodness that happened on Christmas, because let me tell you, I was drooling. I needed one. So I loved it. It's heartwarming. It's fun. There's a little bit of a romance happening, but for me, the found family is where it's at. It's just so cute, and this cast of characters is adorable. I love them, and I did hear that there is a prequel coming out, which makes sense because at the end of this, there is quite a few prequel chapters. So I think that was I'm sure that was probably done on purpose, but I'm very excited about that. So Legends and Lattes coming in at number 8. The next three are actually all dark academia, and it was really hard to figure out what order to place them in. So take this with a grain of salt because it is a very loose rating here. So coming in at number 7 is Bunny by Mona Awad. I mean, really, what do I even need to say about this book? I don't think anyone's surprised that this is on here, but also, I mean, I feel like this is on so many people's favorites list that it's just like, it's proven time and time again that this book is just incredible. It's so genius, and it really is one of those books that just gets you thinking. In this book, we are following Samantha, and she goes to a writing school, and there is a group of girls in her class who call themselves the Bunnies, and they are just like a little clique, and they're very all chipper and peppy, and one night they invite Sam over to hang out with them, and some things happen and some shenanigans unfold, and I really think it's best to go into this book not knowing a lot. It might leave you very confused along the way, but I really appreciate that in books. Not so much to the point where I'm feeling like completely lost, which there were a few moments where I was like, wait, what? And I had to like reread what was happening, but more so in the terms of like getting the conversation started, because I feel like this book can be interpreted a few different ways, and I really appreciate that in books because it's such a good conversation. This book is perfect for a book club because it just has so many different facets to it, and it can be taken so many different ways that as soon as I finished this, I did like a deep dive into all things YouTube. I watched so many videos on people's theories. I did a deep dive on Google and Goodreads and read so many reviews, and then went to Reddit and read a bunch of Reddit reviews, and then started to like kind of form my own opinion on what happened and kind of get a better grasp on what happened. And after that, it just made me appreciate this book so much more. There really is so much happening in here that's almost hidden, and once you like unveil it, it's mind-blowing, and it's so just utter genius, and also the writing is just so good. I paired the audiobook with this, and I really do highly recommend that experience because I think it just made it that much more fun, and also giving voice to the bunnies. I mean, insane. But I do suggest reading along with the physical as well because there is so much that happens really quickly that I think it's good to follow along. Like, I tabbed this book so much and I just truly, absolutely love it. And coming in at number 6, again, I'm like, what order do I put these in? But I'm going with my gut here. In this moment. This could change in like a day, but right here in this moment, coming in at number 6 is They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. I love me some bad bitch energy, and that's exactly what this book delivers. This book is about our main character, Scarlett. Yes, Scarlett. And she is a bit of a vigilante. Vigilante shit, Taylor Swift, this book and that song. Perfect pairing. And Scarlett decides that, you know what, she's been burned, she's watched other people been burned, and she's going to take matters into her own hands and just become a bit of a vigilante. She works on a college campus, so the dark academia vibes are so real throughout this, and then some things start to unfold, some things start to be uncovered, and this has one of the best plot twists, like very early on plot twists that I've seen in a really long time, which is why it's a little bit higher on this list because I did not see it coming. My jaw hit the floor and I was just so enthralled afterwards. I was like, I need to know how all of this is going to be unpacked and how this is going to end, and this book is a wild ride, and like I said, I just love me some bad bitch energy and I'm here for it, so that is why it is number 6. And to round out the dark academia trifecta, coming in at number 5 is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I truly do love this thriller. I know that this did not hit well with some people, but I just had the best time. One of my favorite things in thrillers is a dramatic friend group that just falls to pieces. And that's exactly what happened in this book. In this book, we are following a group of friends who come back to school for their 10-year college reunion. We have our main character, Jessica, who's a bit unhinged, which I just also love because she's a bit of an unreliable narrator, but like in the best fun, falling apart, dramatic way, and I love it. And we are following them as someone who is trying to figure out the secrets behind what happened to their friend Heather, who was one of their core friends in this group who passed away while they were at school, and they're trying to figure out what happened and just infiltrate this friend group, and just the dramatics that happen and how everyone just kind of falls apart and how the story unfolds is just so freaking fun, and I loved it. I did see the ending coming, but that didn't take away from my time with this and how much fun I had. And like I said, I just like am here for a dramatic friend group that's just gonna fall to pieces and go at each other. I love it. It's so fun, it's so interesting, it's so entertaining, and so that's why this one had to be number 5. We are getting down to it, you guys. Coming in at number 4 is Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. This is a fantasy novella with also some mystery happening throughout it, and it is just so fun and cozy. In this book, we are following Nancy, and Nancy comes to this school, and this school is meant for children who have kind of blipped into other worlds and are now back again. So think like they've gone through a door and spent time in Wonderland, in Candyland, in Hell, and then have bounced back and are trying to navigate like how to do real life again. And so this school brings all of those students together to try to help them cope, and Nancy has recently blipped back. So we're following her journey, but while we're following her journey, something happens at the school, and Nancy takes it upon herself and some other students to try to figure out what happened. And this book is just so heartwarming, also about found friendship, but also the representation in this book is so good. We have asexual characters, we have trans characters, we have gay characters. Like, the representation across the board is just truly so well done, and that's one of the things I love about it. But also I just loved the characters. I love the idea of them going into these other worlds and coming back, and you kind of learning about that and how difficult it is to kind of navigate real life after that. And then also you have the mystery of what's happening in this school. This is a part of a series. This is the first in the Wayward Children series. I believe there are 9 now, or 8 and 9, and 9's about to come out. I do own the second one, but I have not read it yet. But I am truly so excited to dive more into this series throughout the next year. I really hope to kind of catch up, because I am so invested in the school and this characters. I just loved it. It was so fun, so heartwarming, so cozy, and also such a good mystery. Number 3 is a bit of a plot twist, because I just read this last week, and it truly like shot up to the top of the charts of my favorite list because it was that good. Like, truly speechless about this book. And I'm gonna try to put my love for it into words, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to articulate because it's so new. But that is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Okay, where do I even begin? This book is so incredible. It's so good. So this is a Carrie retelling, but in the modern day. I have not read Carrie the book. I've seen Carrie the movie, but I have not read the book. But regardless, I still knew exactly what happened. If you know anything about Carrie from back in the day, you kind of know the vibes that are happening. And this was such an incredible retelling, but also just done in the most exquisite way. I cannot even. Tiffany D. Jackson is so incredible. She took such a classic story and modernized it in such an important way. In this book, we are following Matt Maddie, who is half black but goes as white passing. She's been told her entire life that she needs to hide that side of her and make people believe that she is white. And one day the gym teacher makes them run laps and it starts to rain and Maddie's hair starts to curl and people start realizing what's happening and that she's been hiding half of her identity, and they start hardcore bullying her. She's always been bullied, but this goes to like another extreme, enough so that the school has to step in, and then the story takes off from there. And you of course, if you know anything about Carrie, you kind of know what happens along the prom and whatever, but this book was done so insanely well. The conversations around bullying, around color, around privilege and class is just chef's kiss. So well done. Like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how to articulate how well this book is written and how well these conversations were done. It just is truly incredible, and this cast of characters was done so well. I also listened to the audiobook, which is incredible. It has a whole cast of characters and it's narrated so well. And there's also a podcast element that is brought into this book where they're kind of following this story years later and what could have possibly happened. Also, there's kind of left with like an ambiguous ending, which I really appreciate. I don't know what to say, you guys. I could gush about this book forever, but also I feel like I can't put into words how much I loved it. It, like I said, shot up to the top of the charts of being one of my absolute favorite books, and I know I'm going to want to reread this at some point. Like, that's how well it was done. But also just the conversations, and this is young adult, but it doesn't read super young, and it just makes you feel so much for Maddie and what she's going through, and just anyone who has ever been bullied. And also you can feel kind of the impact from each character. It's truly incredible. I'm gonna keep going if I don't shut up about it. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. Listen to the audiobook if you so choose. It's amazing. It had to be number 3. It had to. Okay, these last two, I struggled, and I'm still struggling a bit. They go back and forth between which one's actually my favorite book of the year. Some days it's one, some days it's another. But overall, I think I'm happy with where I've landed today. So coming in at number 2 is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I've raved about this book, and I do not think this book is getting the hype that it truly deserves. This book had the best plot twist of the year for me. And it's not even a thriller. It's not a horror. It's not a mystery. It's a fantasy with other elements woven into it. This book is one of a kind. One, the writing style is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it did take me a hot minute to get into. So if I have any critique about this book, it is the writing style. It is different, which is why it's not sitting at number 1 right now. But regardless of that, I kept pushing through because I just felt like this was going to be more, there was going to be more to the story that I needed to know. And I was 100% correct. Thank goodness I pushed through this writing, because holy moly. So this book is following Piranesi, of course, who lives in a house that is extremely different. It's a house that changes all of the time. So no one hallway is the same, rooms change all the time, floors change, they could have different themes, we could have, waves going in through one way and be a desert the next day. Also, just the doors change all the time. This house is ever changing. So you're just navigating him as he is just kind of going through this house, while also he's figuring out that someone else lives in this house too, and they kind of come together and try to figure out like how they got there, because neither one of them really remember how they got there. And this is told, some of it is told in journal form, so you're kind of reading as Piranesi is figuring things out, and then also kind of present day, and it is so interesting. And I'm not doing a very good job at explaining this because I cannot explain my love for this without spoiling it. It's really hard to do because truly the gold of this book is the ending and what happens and where this goes. It is not going to be for everyone. I understand that. The writing, I know, is going to be really difficult for some people to get through, but if you can push past it and follow Piranesi on this weird, twisted journey, when you come to that end, your jaw is going to hit the floor, and also your heart is just going to shatter into a million pieces. And that's why I love this book so much. I know, like I said, it's not going to be for everyone, but it definitely was for me. And coming in at number 1 is a book that I read back in February, I believe, and I still think about to this day. It sits on my mind almost daily. I think about this book all of the time, which means that I definitely need a reread, but also it has to be my favorite book of the year because of how much brain power still goes into this book, and that is The Silent Woods by Stacey Cunningham. I sadly don't have a copy with me. I do have one coming, but I don't have a physical one with me. But this book was so unexpected. I did not expect to go into this book having it be one of my favorites, let alone even really enjoy it, because this is more of a survival story, and I have not read a ton of those, but also I've read a few and not liked some, so I was kind of hesitant about this one, but I read it for the Book Troop book club, and I was like, you know what, it's getting me out of my comfort zone, let's just give it a whirl. In this book, we are following a father and daughter who live in isolation in the woods. And one time of year, they have a friend who owns the cabin that they stay in come in and bring them supplies. But other than that, they do not have interaction with the outside world. They don't leave. They just live in this isolated cabin. And you're following the past as it's kind of unraveling why they live that way. But then also, you're following the current storyline where the person who brings them supplies doesn't show up. So then they have to figure out what to do. You know, they have to figure out how to survive. And it is like, this book is truly anxiety in a book. My heart was pounding the entire time, and it's not like these huge things are happening. There's some little mysteries that happen along the way, but just the overarching of this father and daughter trying to survive in the woods by themselves, then having to figure out how they're going to get supplies and what they're going to do. And this book made me cry at the end. 100%. I was not expecting it, and as I was turning the pages, the tears were just flowing down my face, and I was like, what's happening right now? And it just ends on such an emotional note that just kind of hit me out of left field. And you just grow to love these characters. At the beginning, you're not really sure if you're going to be able to connect with them in any sort of way, because it's truly like unless you're ever been in that situation, it's kind of hard to connect in that way. But the writing does such an incredible job of really making you feel for them and where they're at, and also because you have the history coming into play and finding out how they got there, it's also creating that kind of emotional impact while also dumping on this anxiety of them surviving and how they're going to do so, and as things start happening to them, mind-blowing. Like, I think about it all of the time, and I definitely need to do a reread, but it was beautiful. It's beautiful done. The writing's incredible. The story's amazing. The anxiety is very much present, and the story is just so well done, and it was flushed out so well. And then the ending, oh, my heart. My heart could not handle it. So it had to be number one. It had to be. There was no flaws about this book. I have nothing bad to say about it. I cannot wait for my copy to come in the mail. I'm going to reread it and annotate it, and I cannot wait for that, and it had to be number one. I'm very happy about that, and I'm very happy that it is a book that is not my typical kind of genre, and also just completely out of left field, like unexpected. I love that for me. And those are my top 10 favorite books of the year. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you have ever liked or watched or you're subscribed, thank you so much. Truly, you do not know how much that means to me. I really do appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every subscription, even just you viewing the video for any amount of time really does mean the world. This is kind of a newer space for me, and I definitely took a leap this year, and I'm so happy I did. I'm so happy in this little book community that we have created. So thank you for being here and for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe if you are not already, and turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future